All right, how's it going, everybody? My name is Cam White, and welcome to your December 2020 horoscope. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you are watching this recorded. This is not live. However, every single month, if this is the first time you've watched my monthly horoscopes, every month I do a live monthly horoscope on Twitch. I have my Twitch link in the description below. So if you want to join us on the live streaming of the monthly horoscope, you're more than welcome to. What I do is I go over all of the major transits of the month. And at the end of the video, what I do is I take viewers' charts and I use those charts as examples for what the signs are going to be going through for that month. So let's say you're a Sag Rising and you give me your chart information. I'll throw up your chart and I'll use you as the example of what, Sag Risings are going to go through for December. But anyway, as I'm waiting for some more people to get on here, I just wanted to thank you guys for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. If this is the first time on my channel, welcome over. We're finally in December. I can't believe we're at the end of 2020. Don't even know what to say. This year was a little bit crazier than I anticipated. I feel like every astrologer knew that it was going to be kind of crazy, that there was going to be a bunch of stuff going on, but this was kind of a lot. So, as per 2020 fashion, 2020 ends with a bang. There's a lot. Well, actually, it's funny. As far as number of things going on, it's about the average, but each thing that's actually going on in December is so much bigger than usual. So I'd like to thank the people that are joining on right now. Super excited that you guys can be here. What I'm just trying to get over or just talk through real quick is how crazy 2020 is going to be. How crazy December of 2020 is going to be. 2020 already has been crazy. So let's go ahead and start. Let me go ahead and pull up the transit list. So this is everything that we've got going on at the moment, or everything that we're going to be going through December. And as you can see, if you're kind of looking through this, some of the highlights we have are, what do we got? Mercury goes into Sagittarius. We've got Saturn going to Aquarius, Jupiter going into Aquarius. We have that Mercury Cazimi, Venus going into Sag. We have the solar eclipses in Sag, Mercury on the south node. We've got another Mars square Pluto. We've got the Sun going into Capricorn, Jupiter conjoining Saturn this month, the great Jupiter-Saturn conjunction of 2020. We finally have that going on this month. We have the first full moon in Cancer where Saturn and Jupiter won't be in Capricorn. Saturn won't be in Capricorn at all, and the nodes won't be in Cancer, and this won't be an eclipse in Cancer. So there is, I think with this full moon in Cancer, I think it's just kind of like with everything else going on in the month, that's a little bit slept on, but that's also really cool. And then by the end of the month, we have Venus squaring Neptune and Venus going to south, Venus conjoining the south node, and that's how we go into 2021. So let's go over the first thing here. Let me pull up the chart too. The first major thing that we have going on in December of 2020 is actually not just Mercury going into Sag, because that was the first thing you guys saw. And as you see here, Mercury goes straight into Sagittarius here on December 1st. But the thing about December 1st is on November 30th, this is when we have that total lunar eclipse in Gemini. So before we even go into December, we're literally starting eclipse season, where we're talking about, things that basically began in the May and June of this year, when we had the nodes first ingressing into Gemini and Sagittarius. Look where Gemini and Sagittarius rule in your chart. Eclipses kind of show things kind of popping off. Eclipses kind of bring sudden attention to a certain part of your life. There's kind of like eclipses kind of like choose you into things. It's not always something that you kind of walk into. It's kind of something that's a little bit more fatalistic, a little bit more destiny related. But we have this total lunar eclipse that we kind of end the month of November in and start December. And so when we start December, we're kind of walking in, things already kind of being crazy. I think with this eclipse, this is now the Sun in Sagittarius, the Sun going towards the south node. This is literally a total lunar eclipse in Gemini. I think a lot of this eclipse is going to be kind of like really understanding things and really coming to like a sort of acceptance with the facts. The Sun on the south node in Sagittarius, there's this, draining or this releasing of, identity, of how we believe things. I've been talking a lot about the south node in Sagittarius, of kind of a letting go of our beliefs or sort of our worldview in a lot of ways. And with the north node in Gemini, there's this big focus on information, on data, on what we know and what we're discovering. And so as we get to this eclipse, there is this, kind of accepting, what we know. There's this accepting of what information that is given to us, what the facts are, essentially, and kind of letting go of beliefs before that. And so I think it just kind of sets a weird tone to start December on. I'm not even talking about December yet. That's how we kind of end November and go into December. So then we go into December on December 1st with Mercury going into Sagittarius. As we kind of, this is again eclipse season now. We're getting off this eclipse. Mercury goes into Sag, where Mercury was in Scorpio before. Mercury ruling our thoughts, the way that we communicate, the way that we're thinking, the tone that we're communicating in, how we're running our errands, what we're kind of focused on. And with Mercury being at that last degrees of Scorpio, where it's, a little bit more intense, Mercury's a little bit more driven, Mercury's a little bit more attentive. Mercury in Sagittarius, Mercury goes into detriment. So Mercury, things that Mercury's in control and can kind of be problematic. So when it comes to communication, messages, technology, with Mercury in Sagittarius, you see kind of a delay. With Mercury in Sagittarius, you kind of see also Mercury having a big message to say. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter likes to expand. Jupiter likes to make things really big. And Mercury is in detriment in Sagittarius. This is the opposite of its home sign, where Mercury in Gemini is very, it's enough information, it's enough data. Sagittarius it's a lot of data, it's a lot of information, it's a lot of message to get out. And Mercury can kind of feel overwhelmed in Sagittarius, so our ideas, our thoughts can be kind of exaggerated. Our words can be kind of more jovial, almost, in a sense. We could be speaking more from a tone of passion. But with Mercury and Sag 2 starting off the month, it's kind of like, I don't want to say like our heads in the clouds, but we're kind of just very theoretical. Mercury and Sag is very like, I need to kind of think about this. I need to reflect about this. I need to speak in, kind of in metaphors. I need to speak in analogies. I need to speak and I need to think in a story that kind of makes sense. So I think while Mercury goes into Sagittarius, there's this fun, more adventurous part of it. Mercury is going to be going towards the South Node. We'll be talking about that. But Mercury is going into detriment. So when we talk about what we're thinking about, when we talk about the way that we're communicating, we're going to have a little bit of issues. It's just Mercury's going to be kind of struggling getting the message across. Mercury and Sagittarius can be kind of a lot of words all at once. So, next thing that we've got going on, and that's going to be something that we've got going on throughout the month. Next thing we've got going on is Venus trining Neptune. So, in my opinion, this is kind of like low-key really cool. What day is that on? That's on the 5th. So yeah, from December 1st to December 5th, not a lot happens. And I want to also make the mention too, for some of you guys that are just getting here, I kind of talked about this in the beginning. We start December, with those eclipses, right? Things get kind of crazy, but, the first 2 weeks of December are really boring. There's like a lot of the things that are going on in December there's not many of them, but each one is really, really big. However, in the beginning part of December, there's not a whole lot. It's like the first 2 weeks of December are pretty boring. It's going to be the last weeks of December that are really the craziest. But one thing that we've got going on or the next thing I should say that we've got going on is on December 5th, we have the Venus trine Neptune. This looks pretty cool, depending if you're into this kind of thing. Venus trine Neptune here on December 5th. This looks fun for, I'm going to just be honest, a romantic evening, sex. This looks great for music. Oh, especially for music. Especially if you guys are artists or you do any type of painting or you do any type of visual work. This is great for that. Venus is in Scorpio, and so, something I talk a lot about when you get a planet in detriment. Planets in detriment always get a bad rep, and, it's Venus in Scorpio. It's not everything is Venus in Scorpio isn't for everybody. It's not everybody's taste, but Venus is the planet of value. Venus is the planet of love and connection and pleasure. And in Scorpio, things are Venus enjoys the intensity. Venus enjoys the rawness. Venus enjoys the depth. And so with that trining Neptune, there's one road that's, again, it's really hot, really sexy, really cool. Then there's another road that's you could be getting a little lost in the sauce. So that's going to be a little bit frustrating. And the one thing too is the moon is going to be in Leo on this day, making that trine to Mars and squaring Venus. So there's like, you know, there's when we talk about Venus, we're talking about music, we're talking about art, we're talking about love, all the fun stuff, right? There's this depth to it. With Venus trining Neptune, there's this almost like this mysticism to that. Like it's almost like really romanticized, or it's really like rose-colored glasses the way that you're viewing this, the way that you're seeing it. It's very almost spiritual. I think also though on this day with the moon and Leo squaring it, it's, you know, be careful about how deep you're going into things. It can get really, not all that glitters is gold. And also another way to look at it is like I don't know, some things aren't as deep as they appear to be. Have you guys ever looked at a pool from a certain angle and it looks like it's, you know, really deep, but it's actually really shallow? It's not that deep sometimes, and don't be fooled. One thing to do is, if you're going to go that deep, or if you're going to try to go that deep, make sure you have something anchored to you. You know, Venus and Scorpio, with Venus and Scorpio, Venus is like, oh yes, like, let me, blah, like, you know, Venus is either like, no, don't touch me, or Venus and Scorpio is like, I'm attached to this. So, you know, just have healthy boundaries. Don't just let things blend and mix without proper communication about it. But it is really hot and sexy at the same time. So enjoy it while it's there. Next big thing that we've got going on, again, December 1st, Mercury goes into Sag. 4 days later, Venus trine Neptune. And Venus trine Neptune is not even a big deal. Then 4 days after that, Sun squares Neptune. So again, another Neptune transit, not even that big of a deal. Whoops, wrong button. So then, let's go to December 9th. We get this Sun square Neptune. Now, this is a little bit more complicated than usual, because we have this Sun on the south node. We have the Sun trining Mars. We have Mars trining the south node while the Sun squaring Neptune. So there's this, it's kind of, you know, bad timing almost in a sense. But the Sun being in eclipses and on the south node, there's this realization of what needs to kind of like be letting go. There's this change. There's this drain. You know, the south node really is like a drain. It's, with the Sun being there, there's this like, all right, like this is it. This is what we're kind of letting go of. With Mars trining the Sun too, there's this, I don't want to say activation. That just sounds funky for this. There's this motivation. There's this willingness to move forward. There's this willingness to take action. Mars is, you know, direct now. Mars is not at the moment really squaring Jupiter, Saturn, or Pluto. It's kind of far away. Mars is moving forward. So there's this willingness to take action. But with the Sun squaring Neptune, there's this confusion over what the repercussions of what that action is. Neptune's going to be squaring the nodes right now. And what you get with the nodes is you get this is the direction I want to go in, regardless if it's right or wrong. This is just what I'm hungry for. This is what I'm consuming. And there's this other, the south node is like, well, you know, before you can do that, you have to handle this. Like, you can't do this without taking care of this. This is the prerequisite. The south node is the, you know, you've got to get through this in order to get to that. And with Neptune in the middle, there's this blurring of lines of like, okay, do I really have to go there? Do I really have to let go of this? Do I really have to change this? And if I have to change this, if I have to let go of this, if the Sun in Sagittarius on the south node, if I have to change my perception or my belief about something, how much of that do I have to change? What am I changing about it? And I feel like with the Sun squaring Neptune, there's this confusion over exactly what we should be looking at. There's this confusion. It's very, you know, it's Sag and Pisces. It's very heady. It's very, you know, much more about our worldview, about our spirituality, about, you know, kind of like how we feel about our beliefs and things like that. It's not necessarily so much super physical or very realistic. It's much more in our heads or in our hearts or in our spirit is a good way to look at it. So as the Sun squares Neptune, there's going to be some confusion, and it's going to feel very like a fatalistic turn of like, and the thing is with Neptune, just because it's foggy outside, that doesn't mean you can't drive. You can turn on your fog lights and you can go a little bit slower, because that's the thing with the Sun and Sag on the south node, where we're used to going really fast in areas. We gotta have to slow down a little bit, and that Neptune squaring the Sun is like, we're gonna hit some fog, and so, you know, if you're going on a trip, if you're going through the mountains, yeah, sure, you want to get to your destination, but you don't want to fly up the mountain in fog. Like you could easily crash. So I think with the sun squaring Neptune, take your time kind of processing it. Really ask yourself, what does this mean for me? What am I actually, having to get rid of? What am I actually having to release? What am I actually wrapping up is a good way to look at it. Next thing we've got going on, and this is where things kind of start picking up a little bit more. Sun conjoins the south node on the 10th. Sun trines Mars while Venus sextiles Pluto. So again, that sun square Neptune at first is going to be very much like, all right, I need to kind of slow down. But then we get to the 10th where the sun makes the conjunction on the south node and trines Mars. There's this acceptingness. There's this willingness. There's this, okay, this is what I'm taking action on. This is what I'm doing differently. If you've been watching my weekly horoscopes, you've been hearing me say, this is like the little engine that could. And now that Mars is stationed direct and moving forward again, now we're on round 2 of trying to go up this stupid mountain. As the sun's on the south node in Sagittarius trining Mars, this is like, if you want to have a different result, you can't do the same thing twice. You have to do something different. And on this time that we're going to go up this hill, like, what are you going to do differently? What do you have to change? What do you have to get rid of? What mindset did you go under with that doesn't work anymore? Like, what are the facts? That's kind of the North Node and Gemini thing. So and this is going to be, it's like mentally challenging in a sense of like, okay, I guess like I have to really change the mindset, the way that I really look at how I'm going to interact with this. So try not to let your ego get in the way, and I'm also speaking to myself here of like, try to let yourself fail. Let yourself go, okay, maybe I was wrong about that, and what can I change about that? Thank you for the donation. Woo. What can you change about that, and what can you do differently this time when you take action? And that's going to be, and I can't emphasize this enough. This is so important for this month because, again, the first 2 weeks are kind of slow, and those last 2 weeks, I mean, it's at one thing after another, and it's huge transits. Like, we're going to feel a big shift. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys know I talk shit about the portals and all of that stuff, and like, I'm gonna give spiritual Twitter a pass. We're going to be entering a portal. This is definitely like, a really intense time on a personal level, and I think you'll see it on the outside world, but it really does kick off with that Mars trine Sun South Node thing. We move. Oh, also I wanted to mention Venus sextiles Pluto here. Where's Venus? There she is. With Venus sextiling Pluto, there is this powerful urge, this powerful want, this powerful desire of saying like, yes, this is what I want. This is what I'm attracting myself to. And it's very not necessarily like, oh, I want this. Like, can I have this? It's Venus and Scorpio sextiling Pluto. It's very much like, this is mine. Like, I'm having this. It's not even up for debate. So that's really fun. Oh, whoops, wrong button. There we go. We get to we get to 12/13. We get to December 13th. Again, we're now at the middle of the month. We've only had really a handful of things happen, and then we get to Mercury squaring Neptune. This is definitely annoying. Here we'll get to December. What did I say? December 12th or December 13th? Well, yeah, between December 12th and December 13th. That Mercury square Neptune. The problem with this too is Mercury's on the south node. There's this, it's when you don't have all of the answers, it's really hard to give an answer. It's really hard to be honest when you don't have all the answers, or when you don't even understand the answers. And I think with Mercury on the south node in Sagittarius, there's this like you have to understand what exactly, like with the sun on the south node, there's a realization that we need to change. There's a light bulb moment of like, oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. Like, oh, that's what, isn't working. Mercury on the south node squaring Neptune is very much like, oh, like I have to actually change my mindset around this. I actually have to change my relationship to this thing. I have to communicate with it differently. I have to interact with it differently. And as Mercury is squaring Neptune, there's this confusion of like, oh, well, if this isn't what I thought it meant, what does it mean? And there is no right or wrong answer here. There is no correct answer. And I think that's the hard part. Mercury in Sagittarius doesn't get like, there is no correct answer. Mercury in Sagittarius has to just kind of guess for itself. So there's this bittersweet releasing of like our mindset or our thoughts or our ideas, and really kind of going like, okay, I'm accepting that I have to change the way that I think about this certain thing. And look at where Sag rules in your chart. So if you like, I talked about this when Mars first stationed retrograde. I tried to do, I took on this diet and exercise thing. Never done anything like that before. I've always had shitty health, and I've been trying to like be better at that. And when Mars went to station retrograde, I took on this huge challenge. It was really hard. You know, go figure. Probably shouldn't have done that because it didn't work out that well. And something that I'm starting to understand about myself, because this is all in my first house. So about like my body and about myself is like a lot of the mindset that I kind of went under with that. You know, like. That didn't work. So there's got to be something to change around that. So if maybe it rules your first house, there's something about yourself that you're changing. If Mercury rules your 9th house, something about your beliefs, your spirituality is changing. If Mercury rules your 7th house, something about your idea of relationships is changing, or the way that you interact in relationships is changing. So just look at where Sagittarius is going on. There's just a lot of action going on there in the first place. I need some water real quick. What's the next thing we got going on? Next thing we got going on December 14th, again, we're only halfway into the month, and we get Venus sextiling Jupiter. We get eclipse season, the solar eclipse in Sag. That's when Mercury actually conjoins the South Node, and Mercury makes that trine to Mars. So December 14th, a lot is going on, and again, this is when the ball really gets rolling. First thing I want to cover is Venus sextiles Jupiter, and also, mind you, Jupiter and Saturn are like right on top of each other at this point. They are literally conjoined. Like they are literally conjunct. They will go exactly conjunct here in just a few more days, but at this point, it's basically already started. And that's the one thing I wanted to emphasize on. Like, to go back on that portal shit. Like, this month, you're going to see it's going to be a snowball effect of like, oh, that was kind of interesting. Whoa. Like, things are just going to build up really fast, and all of the transits that are happening, like you guys saw that, like look on December 14th, Venus sextile Jupiter, that's cool, but it's solar eclipse also with Mercury on the South Node trining Mars. There's this motivation to change something. There's this literally like things are changing, things are being released, things are being relinquished. There is a chapter closing, or maybe a not a table turning. That's not the analogy I want to use. There's a shift occurring. The South Node is, in order to, like if you wanted to move to a different country, you can't just move all your stuff and move. Like, you have to first get a passport, then you have to apply for a visa, then you have to go through all of the stuff that you have to go through. That's the South Node. Like, the North Node is you wanting to move to another country. The South Node is like, okay, what do you have to do to get there? And the South Node is like, okay, what do I have to accept? What are the things that I have to, final purge of 2020, exactly. Like, this is like and this is Sagittarius. This is last minute, dump everything in the fucking trash and get the fuck out. Like, it reminds me, I moved out of my apartment one time. I literally left everything in it because I brought a few things and everything else, like, fuck this shit. That's what Sagittarius is going to be like. It's literally just draining this shit. And so, and the big power, and this is the thing that's really powerful in my opinion, is look at this. It's trining Mars. Mars is nine whole degrees away from Jupiter and Saturn. So yes, it's technically square, but it's very far. Saturn is not actually really interacting with Mars here. Mars is still in shadow, but Mars is moving forward now. Mars is in its home sign, and it's trining the sun. It's trining Mercury. There's all of this like yes energy. If you watch my videos, and also too, if you're really into traditional astrology, you know that a lot of traditional astrology is either yes or no. This is a lot of yes, and it's really fast yeses. Again, Venus is sextiling Jupiter here. So there's also this, and also it's Venus sextile Jupiter, and then I think the next day Venus sextiles Saturn and then moves into Sag. But when Venus sextiles Jupiter, there's this accumulation of resources, or this accumulation of possessions. It's Venus and Scorpio, right? A benefic and detriment, and Jupiter and Capricorn, a benefic and its fall. It's like and so in high school, mind you, don't judge me here. I went to a really mean high school. We were all really fucked up, but I think everyone was really mean in high school. We called, so at my high school there was all these different hills that like certain kids sat on. Like we called this one hill Emo Hill because where the emos hung out, but there was this one hill that everyone called Reject Hill, and it was like where all the kids who like didn't have friends, they would all hang out. And like Venus and Scorpio sextiling Jupiter is like the Reject Hill. It's like the things that are usually bad, like you can make something good out of it. There's some type of connection there. There is with Venus sextiling Saturn, there is like Venus and Scorpio, you know, this is dark, this is edgy, but I like it. It's intense, it's fun. And Jupiter and Capricorn's like, you know, it's not everything in the world, but it's nice and I like it. There's this reception, there's this harmony, there's this like, you know, being thankful or, you know, showing gratitude or just being ecstatic for at least having what you have. Because I mean, also if we look at this, you know, it's funny, both malefics are in domicile, both benefics are in, you know, one's in a detriment, one's in its fall, and this is an eclipse. So this is still pretty heavy energy, but there's this you know, there's a little bit of gratification behind it. Hold on, need some more coffee too, and a little bit of water. Anyway, next big thing, again, like I said, on December 15th, that's when we have Venus sextiling Saturn right before it ingresses into Sagittarius. I'm sorry you guys have to deal with me drinking water. Everyone complains about that on YouTube. Like all my Twitch people, you guys probably aren't even complaining about it, but everyone on YouTube is going to lose their minds. Anyway, thank you for dealing with me. We get to December 15th and Venus sextile Saturn goes into Sagittarius. And this is where Venus and Sag is so like, you know what? Venus and Scorpio is too much of a downer. We need to fucking start having some fun. And as Venus sextile Saturn, it's like, well, first it's Venus sextile Jupiter, right? There's this like, you know, I'm thankful for what I have. I'm grateful for what I can get my hands on, or at least I have this. This one thing that I have that, it, you know, it's not everything in the world. It's not perfect, but it's what I like. It's what I enjoy. Venus sextiling Saturn, there's this, you know, okay, what you have is very handy. What you have can actually really help create supportive structures. What you are valuing and what you cherish, Venus and Scorpio, what you know, what you enjoy chasing after, what you enjoy going after, what you enjoy bringing yourself to you, is, you know, it can be constructive. It's helpful. It helps create some foundation, some stability. So once Venus sextile Saturn, there's this like acceptance of like, yeah, like I got this shit going, like, you know, I've got shit under control, I've got my shit together. And then Venus goes into Sag and it's time to have fun. You know, Venus is the planet of, you know, also too, at this point, Venus is in Scorpio, Jupiter's in Capricorn. The benefics aren't really having a good time here. They're about to both change signs. Venus is about to go into Sagittarius, where it's like, you know, when you hang out with like two depressed people too often, it's just like, fuck, dude, just get me out of there. Like, let's go, you know, laugh at something. Like, just do anything. I think Venus going into Sag, there's a lot more. Venus and Sag, just go have fun, go explore, go adventure. Venus is about love and attraction, and Sagittarius is about the adventure and the journey of it. So Venus and Sag is like on a journey of fun, on a journey of, you know, enjoyment, whatever that looks like. Especially, you know, look at what Sagittarius rules in your chart. After you just let all that shit go, after you just kind of purged all that shit out, Venus comes in and it's like, well, now we can actually fill that space in with the things that we want, with the things that we actually like. So we have Venus sextiling Saturn going into Sagittarius. 2 days later, we have it. We're here, folks. We're already here. Saturn goes into Aquarius, and if you watched my Saturn and Aquarius video, which I hope you did, you already know what this is about. I'm gonna, if I remember, but you should watch, if you're watching this on YouTube, watch my Saturn and Aquarius video. Hopefully the algorithm just pushes it. What's interesting is that, and I made this comment before, I think like actually a couple months ago, it's been a while. Every time there's a big ingress or a big planet's doing something, the moon's always right there, getting itself involved. And this is where the ball really starts. I think, you know, part of me thinks, well, this is, so when you watch a domino effect, right? If you ever go on YouTube and watch those domino videos, it's kind of like the first one is the big thing, but you don't remember the first domino that falls by the end of it all. And so Saturn in Aquarius, the first day, it's kind of like when maybe like New Year's of 2020, we were all like excited for what was going on, and then it was like Kobe died, and then everything went to shit after that. Saturn going into Aquarius is both this, it's like cool, we finally hear things are actually different, but things just began. Like Saturn goes into Aquarius, and I kind of thought, I'm kind of surprised that we're doing lockdowns again, only because I'm just surprised that people aren't writing about it. But with Saturn going to Aquarius, again, you're going to see the lockdowns come into place. You're going to see, the same things that we saw from March, April, and May and June of this year, where there was this, like everyone started using Zoom. There's all these social hangouts online. The internet was a really big deal. There's all these social lockdowns in place. I think you're just going to see more of that come up. But in a personal thing too, ask yourself what happened in March, specifically March, when Saturn went into Aquarius. Like, what started? Because I remember that day. But also Saturn was like on my sun, so a little bit different. But what was going on for you then? When we talk about Saturn, your responsibilities, your obligations, what you're committed to, what you're serious about, where you need to be more mature, where you need to be more disciplined, what shifted? Saturn's been in Capricorn for so long, we already handled that, but what did you start putting more focus on? Because now that's just going to come up again. And it's Saturn in Aquarius, this is like, we need to, actually know what we're thinking. Saturn in Aquarius, we need to be disciplined in our thoughts. Saturn in Aquarius, we need to be disciplined, and we need to be serious, and we need to actually make these connections, and we actually need to, build these structures and build this foundation and the support with our, what rationale we use, the spirit in which that we connect to people, with our communities, with bigger groups of people. So Saturn goes into Aquarius, but again, like I said, this is kind of just the first domino of all of these other things. And this is the first domino, and the dominoes don't stop until like March of 2021. So this is a 4-month long domino cycle. Because everyone on YouTube, and maybe for you guys too, mostly you guys are cool. It's my YouTube people that are always like, oh my god, this is the end of the world. I think there's going to be a lot of rough points, and I'm sorry for talking all my shit about my YouTube people, but there's a lot of rough points in the next few months, but there's also just a lot of change. It's like, when you go from renting a house to owning a house, yes, it's a lot of good, but there's also a lot more bullshit you got to deal with. And it's like, sometimes that's just how life goes. And sometimes, I don't know, I feel like with astrology too, this is just a little side rant, people are just always expecting like, oh, is it good or bad? Is astrology good or astrology bad? It's like, it's both. Like, life is both. There's never are you ever just happy and everything's just always good? Like, no. Like, wake up. Anyway, rant over. So now we get to the 19th. So this is where shit gets a little bit crazy. And it's actually for like a period of couple days. We'll actually take a look at this. December 19th, 20th, 21st, 23rd, 24th. All of those, that whole Christmas time, and then it's like right after Christmas. So much is going on. First thing is Jupiter goes into Aquarius while Mercury goes Cazimi. Now, let's pull this up. We get to the 19th, bam, Jupiter moves in. By the way, this is something, go outside and watch the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Do yourself a favor and just remember at around sunset for around December 19th to December 21st, go outside right after sunset and you will see Jupiter and Saturn for about an hour. Jupiter and Saturn will be really close to the sun, but if you live somewhere where it's visible, basically where there's no clouds, after the sun goes down, just keep staring in the western horizon. You will see Saturn and Jupiter conjoining. It's only time you're going to see it. So we didn't get to see the last one either. The last time we had a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, it was in Taurus and it wasn't visible. So we haven't had a visible one in like at least like 40 years or something like that. So watch this. Go outside and watch this and be connected with the stars. Anyway, Jupiter goes into Aquarius, and this is where the fun begins. Yes, tonight MTV, we've talked about this because we're both Sag Risings. The Mercury Cazimi is on my ascendant too. I'm fucking super stoked about it. But this is where Saturn going to Aquarius is kind of like, we'll feel it, but Jupiter going into Aquarius is going to be like a whole new world. Like literally, like the floodgates will open. And I say this because Jupiter's been, for one, in fall for the past year, and on Pluto, and like on Saturn squaring Mars. So like Jupiter has literally had like as many things as the universe could possibly fuck it up. Like Jupiter's been going through it. Jupiter is going to be conjoining Saturn, which is still hard, but Jupiter's finally getting it out of its sign of fall. Jupiter can have fresh air. Jupiter is off of work of like a double. Like if you have ever been a server, which you should be, everyone should always work a serving job. If you've ever been a server and you've worked a double, it's like that feeling of getting off into a weekend. It's just that freedom, that fresh air that, you know, I can explore, I can feel. Jupiter in Aquarius is really going to feel like there's so many more things that we can think about. There's so many more things we can open our minds up to. And this is good, I think. I think with Jupiter conjoining Saturn, though, is the problem that's going to, or not necessarily the problem, is that this isn't like Jupiter and Aquarius, like, you know, fucking let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. This is Jupiter conjoining Saturn. It's like, we all need to fucking get along, and we all need to fucking find, you know, we all need to be really serious. It's the time to commit, but it's like, you know, it's kind of, I feel like part of me, I kind of feel like, you know, it's that idea of, you know, if we all wore masks, COVID would kind of go away. It's kind of like that idea of Jupiter conjoining Saturn. It's like where everyone kind of goes into consensus of like, hey, this is what we need to think. This is what needs to go on in order for a greater good to happen. But it's very serious. It's very like Jupiter conjoining Saturn is like when you've got a really happy person who's really serious about being happy. Like it's kind of like, whoa, I get it. Like, you know, you're stoked, but like you're a little intense. So, on a personal level too, I think you're going to feel Jupiter and Aquarius is finding different ways to view things. Jupiter and Aquarius is asking yourself different questions, looking at things through different perspectives. And with Jupiter conjoining Saturn at this point too, this is really going like, what is the solution? What is the answer? And it's Aquarius. It's complicated. You know, one of my favorite things is like, you know, generalities. Well, actually, I can't really remember the saying, to be honest with you, and I hate this about myself. I can never remember things that I really like to quote. But it's like generalities. When you just generalize everything, it's like the most ignorant thing that you can do because it's never true. Just like history, there's no one side of history. History's complicated, and the truth is there. It's just, you know, a little bit more hard to get to than just like one answer. And with Jupiter conjoining Saturn and Aquarius, it's like, okay, like this is what it takes. This is what we've got to do. But with Jupiter, there's optimism. With Jupiter conjoining Saturn, there's like, you know, if we do put in the hard work and we do actually commit to this, there's a greener grass on the other side. There is a positive outcome on the other side. I just think it's not going to come off that way. It's going to come off very like serious. It's going to come off very like this is like, it's going to feel very serious. It's going to feel very heavy too. This is Jupiter, the planet of expansion, in Saturn's house on top of Saturn. So this is expanding our responsibilities. This is expanding, you know, the way that we, you know, create social limitations or create social connections. This is expanding the weight of that connection. This is expanding more of the internet. This is expanding those, you know, it's like what we saw, you know, well, I won't even want to go there. You guys get what I'm trying to say. Anyway. Also, the Mercury Cazimi. I didn't even get to talk about that. Mercury also goes Cazimi. I want to make the mention that, and this is something that I like talking about a lot, but 28 degrees, technically it's 27 and 28 degrees of Sagittarius. Thanks for the sub. Between 28 and 27 degrees Sagittarius is the galactic center. So the center of the Milky Way galaxy is in between those degrees. It's what astrologers refer to as the galactic center, and this Mercury Cazimi is happening on the galactic center. Now, you guys know me, I'm not the big woo-woo person, but I do think space is really cool, and thank you for the sub. With Mercury going Cazimi on the galactic center, and one of my favorite authors that talk about the galactic center is Dane Rudhyar. In fact, there's this really slept on book. It was one of the first astrology books I actually ever read, like fully through, was it's Dane Rudhyar, The Sun is Also a Star. And he talks a lot about the galactic center. It's a super, super cool book. I recommend it for everyone. You should definitely look it out. But what he talks about in this book is how the center of the galaxy being kind of like the core, like the thing that makes us human, the thing that makes us all connected. Just like there's this universal understanding, there's this universal connection. And I think with Mercury Cazimis are always usually clarity, insights, things making sense, things becoming clear. This is also Mercury on the far side of the sun. This is not Mercury retrograde Cazimi, this is Mercury direct Cazimi. There's this, as we're doing new things, as we're gaining new ground with Mercury and Sagittarius. I talked about this earlier. Things are confusing. Things are kind of like, okay, is it here? Is it there? I'm not sure which way to go. Mercury and Sagittarius is kind of like trusting your intuition by trusting your faith. Like, really, it's kind of like a test of faith. And I think with Mercury conjoining the sun at the end degrees of Sagittarius is like, if you can trust your faith, if you can really kind of, let the spirit of things kind of guide you and not necessarily your senses or the material world, there is this opportunity to really see things clearly. And I think with this Mercury Cazimi, there's this like, this is when Jupiter enters Aquarius, Mercury Cazimi. This is the light bulb moment. This is the moment where we go, okay, this is what we're changing. For the person who's not into astrology, how they would go through this would be like, this is when people make huge 2021. Thanks for the sub. This is when people you're gonna see make huge 2021 resolutions. This is the time where people are going to go, I'm inspired to do this. I'm inspired to make this change. This is what needs to happen. This is what, I'm clear about now. There's this huge clarity with it, and I think it's really exciting. But with Jupiter on top of Saturn, it's again, very serious. God, I need some water after that. Also, my hair is like driving me crazy. How are you guys all doing in there? It's only 40 minutes. I'm kind of going by really fast for usual. So we get to the next day. Mercury is still conjoining the sun by the 20th. But this is when Mercury goes into Capricorn. Do I have that as... Well, this is at 5 p.m. on December 20th. What did I put here? So I put the sun and Mercury both go into Capricorn on the 21st, which is partly true. Technically, Mercury goes into Capricorn here on the 20th, on the evening of the 20th. But by the time we get to December 21st, both the sun and Mercury will be in Capricorn. So Capricorn season starts. Things. It's winter begins, and January being January, very strict, very disciplined. Saturn or just. But I think also this is a different Capricorn season. This is Capricorn season without Saturn. This is Capricorn season without Jupiter. Hell, Pluto's almost on its way out. So this is a lighter Capricorn season. This is I can't, being consistent and just sticking to the rules is good enough. Like with Saturn and Jupiter both in Capricorn before, it was like when we get to Capricorn season, there was just like this, okay, now we have to go through this. Now we have to deal with all of this shit. This Capricorn season is a lot more like, okay, just stick to the plan, stick to the routine, stick to the schedule, what's simple, what's easy, what's attainable. As the Sun and Mercury go in there, just a mindset shift occurs. We go from Sagittarius where everything's up in our heads, everything's very theoretical, to all right, it's time to be serious. It's time to take control of the situation. And of course, this is the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Oh, wait, I can actually do that. Hold on. There we go. So when we get to the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, this is the shift. I think the Mercury Cazimi is very much like the clarity, okay, this is what I'm going after, this is what makes sense. That Sun going into Capricorn, Mercury going into Capricorn, the day Jupiter and Saturn conjoins is like, all right, time to put pedal to the metal. Time to show what's up. You talk the talk, and you walk the walk. And I just think with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction too, I don't want to put a huge prediction out there about what I think is going to happen in the politics or in the world. I've talked about it a lot with my friends and other colleagues or whatever, so a lot of you might know my opinions about it. But during this time too, you're also going to see a lot of changes probably on the news with, not just here in America, but kind of everywhere. You're really going to see kind of a dawn of a new era, because like I said, I mean, this is literally, you just learned about astrology the other day and you've never heard of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. By now most people have, but I'll explain it. Jupiter and Saturn conjoin every 20 years, and that's usually a pretty big deal. It usually marks a big event, but they usually make these conjunctions in the same element of signs, for a period of 200 years. Well, this is the first time in a period of 200 years where they're going to be conjoining in air signs. They've been conjoining in earth signs for the past 200 years. Now it's air signs. So this is, kind of a literally beginning of a new age, and I don't want to say this as the age of Aquarius. That's a whole different story. So please don't conflate this with age of Aquarius. Maybe in hindsight it might look like that, but I don't want to say that right now because there's still more to the story with that. But what you see with Jupiter and Saturn conjoining is this new beginning of how we operate, how things work, how, literally the greater good and the greater evil coming together, kind of starting new things, a new chapter, a new generation, a new system, a new way of doing things. And so on a physical level, I guess, like what you'll see in the world, you'll see it very much in the world, but I think on a personal level too, it's going to feel very like, is this like the way that I feel? You're going to feel very on the edge of like, should I push this way or should I not? And this is definitely a sign that you want to definitely push that way. Do something new. Change something about what you're going through. Now, on we get to December 23rd, right before Christmas Eve, and we get to Mars square Pluto. Check this. Oh, it's actually, it'll technically be early December 23rd on the 22nd. Yeah, on the 23rd, early morning of the 23rd. We have Mars square Pluto. Notice that the moon is also there on top of Mars. This is, this is that one last punch that really knocks down the wall. This is that, breakthrough opportunity. Like, for example, have you guys ever gotten in, like, if you've ever gotten into a fight before, or especially like, if you ever just gotten in just roughhouse or whatever, like when you learn your own strength, like when you get to that part of like when you're even a child or even when you're an adult, when you realize your own strength, you're like, whoa, I didn't know I can do that. I didn't know I was capable of that. This is the moon conjoining Mars, squaring Pluto. Things are changing. Things are and also you are a little bit more powerful than you might think, or what you're doing is a little bit more powerful than you think. Maybe the results have just been delayed for so long that you thought that you were weak. But this is definitely like, you're going to throw a punch and it actually hits and it lands and it actually does some damage. And you might go, oh shit, I didn't know. You may not think that was you. But also with Mars squaring Pluto, this is where again, this is Mars, fights, conflicts, anger, where we take our aggression out, how we kind of act things, what we kind of pursue things with. As it squares Pluto, there's this fear or anger. Like Pluto really kind of exploits like some of our fears. Pluto really kind of brings to attention those kind of things. So Mars can feel like it has to like fight against this stuff. Like Mars is like afraid of something, so it has to act this way. So try not to feel cornered. Try not to feel pressured like you have to take action, or at least if you do, don't make it like insecure. Like, you don't want to react. You want to respond. Reaction is you not thinking, just reacting. Responding is taking that deliberate thought and actually taking deliberate act, or taking that specific thought and actually taking deliberate action with it. So instead of reacting, respond when Mars squares Pluto, especially when it's on top of the moon. And we get Mercury trining Uranus after that. So after that, it's kind of like, okay, here we are. This is what we're doing next. Then we get Mercury trining Uranus, which the only reason I brought this up was because it's literally the moon conjoining Uranus, trining Mercury. This is where it's Uranus and Taurus. We can find new ways to stabilize ourselves. We can find new ways to find security. We can be inventive about what makes us actually feel secure. And maybe it doesn't always look like being solid in a ground, and it can just look differently. I think Mercury trining Uranus is like getting that. Like Mercury in Capricorn is like, if you're just consistent, if you're just doing your best, maybe that's enough structure and and stability for you. Mercury trining Uranus is also just like that insight that kind of like not light bulb, but kind of like, okay, like I get this now. Like this is starting to make sense. I'm starting to make a connection here. I'm starting to, reach a little bit more. But at the end of the day, Mercury trining Uranus is not the biggest deal. But then we get the full moon in Cancer, and this is where I kind of really want to talk about this, because this is, in my opinion, what's worthwhile of December. Because December, you have to remember, this is a December to remember, by the way. That's a good way to quote it. The December to remember. Now, by this point, so much has gone on. Jupiter, we've had, again, like I said, from 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, all the way to the end of the month. It's just one big ass thing after another, and even the little things are really big too. By the time we get to this full moon, this is the first full moon. Saturn's not there. Jupiter's not there. Pluto ain't even a part of it, really. And Mercury's combust, so that's kind of whack, but this full moon is very what is important. You guys, if you guys watch my videos, you know how much I talk about Cancer being so much about what is of necessity, what is of importance, what matters, what do I care about, what do I need to protect, what do I need to defend, what is a lifeline, and the sun in Capricorn is much more highlighting on what do I have to work in order to get that. If Cancer is the soft, tender inside part of a crab, right, and has that hard outer shell, that Saturn, that Capricorn part of things is very how do you, create a shell? How do you have a protective barrier for you? Thanks for the follow. With the sun, with this full moon though, with this full moon not being an eclipse, no Saturn, no Jupiter, this is a realization of you can take care of yourself and it doesn't have to be hard. You can do something that makes you feel safe and it doesn't have to feel, you don't have to feel judgment over it. You can do something that's more the sun in Capricorn with the full moon in Cancer is very much if you worked for something, you deserve something. If you are, if you've got your shit together, then you do what it takes to make you feel like your needs are met. And this is the sun in Capricorn opposite moon in Cancer. This is, you can't, just because your boss is your friend, that doesn't mean that they can underpay you. Your needs have to be met. And the sun, this full moon is very much after this, now that Saturn and Jupiter is out of there, we've learned so much about what it's like to be serious about addressing our needs and doing what it takes to create a foundation to receive those. Now with this full moon, and now that we've had some time, we have some experience, this is where I don't want to say push comes to shove, that kind of makes it sound bad, more of it's just kind of maybe a long time ago, let's make the analogy that we work at a job. A long time ago, we tried to ask for a promotion and it never happened. And then we did all of these different jobs. We did all of this different work. We went through all this different experience. And now it's time we come back to that and we go, okay, I want the promotion. And if not, I've got more needs that need to be met. I've got other things that I've got to take care of. I can't just do this anymore. And I've got to do what's going to take care of me. And it's as simple as that. What's hard is with Saturn and Capricorn, it was very much oh God, I've got to take care of this because I'm without, I need, there's this insecurity with it just being the sun and Pluto and the moon. It's just no, this is just what I need. Can we just fucking take care of it now? It doesn't have to be this heavy, this draining, this hard thing to deal with. We've grown from that. We've learned from that. So I think this is a very healthy new moon. I think this is a full moon, I should say. I think this is also very replenishing full moon. Take care of yourself. Reap what you sow. That's a really good way to look at it. Fill your love tank is a good way to look at it too. If you've been working hard and you've been doing something, I would say go and have a spa day, but I don't think that's going to be happening during this time. I don't think spas are really going to be the place to go, but find something to take care of yourself. Where does Cancer rule in your chart too? What needs to be addressed there? This is a full moon, right? The moon is lighting up a part of your chart that isn't usually lit up right now. So let's say, if all this Capricorn stuff's in your 4th house and you're a Libra rising, this full moon in Cancer is okay, now that you have got your living situation thing figured out, what does that mean now for your career, for your work, for your public reputation? we go back to the drawing board, to this list thing that I made. Also, on the 29th and the 30th in between, this is when we have Venus square Neptune. This is really interesting when we talk about what the last time Venus square Neptune was. And I hope you guys remember what was going on when Venus squared Neptune. And that was the Venus retrograde, the Venus on the eclipses that we had in Gemini. We are at the opposite of that. How far have we come since Venus was in Gemini and Venus had that whole retrograde and was on the North Node and squaring Neptune? And Venus squaring Neptune, again, and I talked about this, and I might even go back to some of my older videos and play this in my weekly horoscopes when I get to December. But with Venus and Gemini squaring Neptune is like, it's like the you don't know what you want, so you're going to try a little bit of it all. And Venus and Gemini squaring Neptune, it's like, it's all okay, but it's not all perfect. Venus and Sagittarius squaring Neptune is, I know that I don't want any of this and what I want isn't here. So I have to go and find what I want. And what I want is not, visible. It's not in front of me. I have to discover it. I have to explore it. Venus and Gemini squaring Neptune is like, I have to pick up and I have to move all the little things to find what I'm looking for. Venus and Sag is like, what I'm looking for isn't here. And so what is interesting though too, and this is, did I put this on here? Yeah, this is the last aspect of the year, is Venus conjoins the South Node. Venus is on the South Node here. There's this realization, this is the 29th, the 30th, and the 31st when we have this Venus South Node thing. This is how we end the year. There's this understanding, this realization of like, what you want, you have to go get. And you have to wrap things, like it's Venus on the South Node, like my desires are changing. What I value is changing. My beliefs around what I value is changing. And this is Venus and Sag. Venus and Sag is very adventurous, very like, I got to go out there, I got to get it. And now Venus and Sag is like, I'm still going out there, I'm still exploring, I'm still adventuring, but my reason why is different. Why I'm going this way is different. What I'm actually searching for is different now. And it's Venus square Neptune. The journey is the destination. There is no, right or wrong thing that you want. There is no ultimate destiny or ultimate destination. Venus and Sag squaring Neptune is like, you are on your way to look for what you want. Maybe you don't know exactly what it is that you're looking for, but you just know that it's not there and that you need to go and that something needs to change. Look at what Venus rules in your chart. What needs to get released. And I think at this time too, this is the South Node. This is, burning things, like this is draining things. This is letting go of things. And I think also too with Venus and Sagittarius on the South Node is like, a part of it is when you keep running and looking for the next thing, it's because the other thing with Venus and Sagittarius, there's this problem. It's like, it's overstimulation. It's over searching. And so with Venus on the South Node, there might be this like resistance or this stress or this tiredness of constantly looking for something. And that Venus square Neptune is, I think it's a fine line between being more present with where you're at and then also realizing maybe what you're even looking for isn't here and that the time to look for it is kind of different. I want to bring this comment up real quick. So the reason I don't agree with this was maybe you realize what you want, you already have it, but you couldn't see it before. I don't agree with that only because it's Venus square Neptune. It's not realizing that something's in front of you. It's maybe something is in front of you, but you don't realize it then. And maybe it's not until later on we realize that it was then. But this is also kind of a different story because once Venus does her thing, thank you for the donation, which by the way, if you guys want to donate, that'd be great. This is it's Venus squaring Neptune seems much more of like confused. It's like you go to the treasure chest that you were expecting to find the treasure and it's empty. And you go like what was this all for? What does this all mean? And I don't think it's like, the journey of friendship and getting along with everyone. That's what the treasure hunt was for. It's maybe what you actually wanted was different and it's not within that treasure chest. It was, what that treasure chest meant to you. And there's this, I don't think it's a realization. I think it's or maybe the confusion sets the realization in, or kind of like, what's that movie? Like Shawshank Redemption almost is a good way to look at it. There's a better movie that has a better example than I'm thinking of right now. But in Shawshank Redemption, how he kind of just fools everybody into like, like no one knows that he left. The whole time he's running away doing his own thing. I'm trying to think of a better movie that does this example I'm looking for, but it's kind of like being tricked and realizing in the middle that you got tricked, that you got duped, realizing in the middle of then. But when we talk about December 29th, 30th, 31st, there's this, it's Venus. It's Venus's time to shine, and she's on the south node. She's squaring Neptune. There's this, this isn't what I wanted, so I got to get rid of it. What I want isn't here. Maybe I need to search for something else. Or, that's also just a good point, too, of, maybe it is right here in front of me. I need to stop searching. But the way I don't like that is that's very Venus being depressed and being like, okay. And just, it's not, like, if it was Venus squaring Saturn doing that, I'd be like, okay, Venus would be much more like, all right, like, I'm accepting of what's here, what's now. But this is just Venus and Sag, squaring Neptune. There's this, it's not just what you are looking for, and there's different options available. And the other thing, too, you have, the moon and Leo making this opposition to Saturn and Jupiter here. There's this, very heavy heart kind of feeling into it. And that's this year. That's 2020. That's December of 2020. That's what we've got going on this whole year. December is, I can't get over how much happens just in, again, it starts where? December 14th? Yeah, December 14th all the way down. It's just bang, 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 bang every single day. But like I usually say, now we're going to start talking about how it's going to affect the zodiac signs. So listen to the rules before we go crazy here. You can go ahead and put your birth information in the comments, and I will use your chart as an example to say what's going to be going on for the zodiac signs. But if you're a Cancer Rising and someone already put their Cancer Rising up there, just don't even worry about it. I'm only going to do one sign. So it's basically whoever comments first. I'm going to just go through the zodiac signs, but I'm not going to do two of the same rising sign. I'm going to go by rising sign. So also comment, put in your birthday, your birth time, your birthplace, and let me know what rising sign you are, because I'm going to go by rising sign. So Libra Rising, all right, Venus Viv, you've been here before. All my usuals. All my little usuals. I love you guys. Also, if you want, while I'm also doing all of this, feel free to donate to the channel. That would be great, because it really helps me out, and it's why I can do this type of stuff. So there's a donate button somewhere on my channel. To be honest with you guys, I'm really bad at technology, especially like Twitch. So deal with me here. But yeah, there's a donate button somewhere on my Twitch page that you guys can go to. So 8:50, hold on, we're doing Venus Viv right now. Actually, I'll just start doing this. This will make things a little bit easier. 8:50 a.m. Where at? San Jose, California. Okay. So Libra Rising. All right. Let's talk about that Libra Rising. Ooh, that nice Venus on Ascendant. Look at you. So 30 seconds on the clock. No, I'm just kidding. Sometimes I feel like a game show host. So what we're looking at here is inside chart is going to be Venus Viv. Outside chart is going to be the transiting stuff. So Libra Rising, this is for all the Libra Risings. Big things going on in your third house. Eclipses going on in your third house. Your communication style, the way that you communicate with people. Your siblings are going through big changes. Your family members are going to be going through bigger changes. And that's more immediate, like not parents, but like cousins, aunts, and uncles. Let's see, the way that you're communicating is going to be changing. A lot of your beliefs are going to be changing. That moon, that total lunar eclipse that we have in Gemini is very like, realizing or taking in more information about what you believe. Let's see, we've got Jupiter and Saturn leaving your fourth house, so there's going to be less pressure on your family and your home life, and there's going to be more enjoyment when it comes to love, romance, sex, kids, creativity. For you, Venus Viv specifically, Jupiter and Saturn going into trine your Venus. your ascendant ruler, you're going to be having a lot of fun. Or maybe that's some new romantic interest as well, because this is also your Saturn return. There's just a bigger, more mature focus on your creativity, your love, your romance, and there's just a more mature way of looking at it. Next one, because that's the Venus, that's the Libra risings. You Libra risings are actually going to have a little bit of a better time. Libra risings have been fucking going through it. It all gets a little bit easier in December, but a lot changes because you still have Mars in your 7th squaring Pluto, so there is some power tension and power dynamics with family members and the relationships in between them, but that's almost over. Miss Lewin, this is who we're doing next. And I'm just going in order here too. Sometimes, the last time I went live, a couple of you guys got mad at me because you guys said I skipped your charts, but it just didn't show up on my thing. So if you think I skipped you, I didn't. It's just, this is literally, I'm just going in order with what I have. So let's see, Miss Llewellyn, hopefully you are not a Libra rising. April 30th, 2000, damn. Fucking making me feel old as shit. No, not 0200. You were not born in the year 200. 247. What? Oh, 247. You don't have any PM time. I need an AM or a PM. Okay, there we go. Aquarius rising. I'm gonna go ahead and say 2:47 AM. So if you're Aquarius rising, that'll let me know. Never mind. So if not, it'll be PM. Oh, AM. All right, cool. So we got the right time. All right. So let me go back here. Let me do this. So Aquarius risings. Wow, look at your chart. You were born. Yeah, you were born during the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction of 2000. See, this is what I was talking about. You couldn't even see it that year. So this is a really big deal for you, specifically Miss Llewellyn. It sounds like such a southern name, like Miss Llewellyn down the street. But first things first, eclipses in the 11th house and 5th house. There's a really big change and let go and draining of friends, of your community, of people that you're just around all the time. And there's a bigger focus towards your own personal wants and your own love or romantic interests, and just less of a focus on like just community or friendships, and more of a focus on like, hey, I want to do this. It's kind of like when you lose a friend because they start dating someone. Like maybe this is kind of a thing that you go through. Jupiter and Saturn are leaving your 12th house and going into your 1st. So for the Aquarius risings, the things that you felt like you've had to kind of put on the back burner, or that have been kind of been in your head and been very subconscious, have been very almost self-sabotage in a sense, are now coming to the 1st house. What you think you've been feeling like you've been needing to change for a long time, it's now time to change. Saturn going into your 1st, Jupiter going into your 1st, a lot more self-responsibilities, obligations of yourself, a lot more just seriousness, while Jupiter's also, you're going to feel more positive about yourself. You're going to feel like you have more opportunities, or that you have a lot more confidence too. For you specifically, Miss Llewellyn, you're going to be having Jupiter and everything square your Jupiter and Saturn and all this stuff. So this is going to bring a lot of tension with your family and your home life. Like you doing these new things or being a different way is really going to challenge some stuff. A couple other things for the Aquarius risings. Mars is still in your 3rd house, so there's still some roughness with the way that you communicate. Maybe a lot of intensity of trying to get as much done as you possibly can, but still feeling tired. Venus going from your 10th house to your 11th, there's, good things kind of happening in your career. But then Venus going to your 11th house is very like switching things up and maybe enjoying more of your friends. And while all this eclipse stuff is going, it's like maybe you're taking away from friends. You're not hanging out with as many people, and you're only really hanging out with the people that you really enjoy, or that you're connecting with the people that you actually enjoy with. But Aquarius risings, you guys are going through some of the biggest changes next month. Or I should say, it's really not next month. It's actually January and February, but it starts next month. All right, who's next? Well, you got a lot of Libra risings. This person, my Yayana, I can't say that. 2002? Wow, I feel old. I remember everyone used to make fun of me and called me the baby in my Yayana. Everyone used to call me the baby in the astro communities, and now I'm looking at this shit, and this is a Gemini rising. 2002, goddamn. 7:17 a.m. Oh, that's 7:15. Whoops. And you're in Walnut Creek, California. Thank you for the donation. You're the best. I love you. California. Okay. All right. What's going on for them Gemini risings? Damn, look at that chart. Hey, I like this chart. There's a lot going on here. Okay, so let's look at these Gemini risings. So with Gemini risings, especially for you, because you've got so much shit in Gemini. You got everything in Gemini. So this is going to be a really big deal for you. And this is also your, people kept being born after 2000. What? This is a really big for you because this is also your nodal return. So like, this is a really big deal for you this whole month. So just FYI, really, really big deal. Nodal return happening, eclipses happening in your 1st and 7th. But with Gemini risings, eclipses in your 1st and 7th, there's a change in relationships. There's a, maybe like this type of way of relationship, or maybe what I think about relationships or what I enjoy about relationships is changing. Especially because for the Gemini risings, you have Venus, the planet of love and romance, in your chart because it rules your 5th house in the 7th, conjoining the South Node. So maybe even things that you desire or things that you actually want are going to be are going to go through a metamorphosis that you are going to change. Especially for you, Maya, because it's going all opposite your Saturn, Mars, Venus, and whatever. So there's a lot of like just understanding yourself and like a lot of like being seen and kind of like understanding yourself from maybe a perspective of the other. But Gemini risings, that lunar eclipse in your 1st house too. There's this things that started in May and June that were more focused on you, especially you because you had that Venus retrograde in your 1st house. Everything that kind of started then, what has come to accumulation now? What has come to fruition? This is kind of understanding yourself more, being more aware of yourself. Mars is in your 11th, so you are still going to be having some rough edges with some friendships, but this is also Mars trining all of this South Node stuff, right? So this is kind of like maybe changing some relationships with individuals and maybe taking more action with friends, or maybe taking more actions and being more active within a community. Or maybe also too, this is Mars trining 11th, trining this 11th, 7th stuff. Maybe this is a problematic person in a bigger group of people, and maybe some resolutions kind of happen. Jupiter and Saturn leave your 8th house, so there's less problems on money or transition for the Gemini risings. I mean, like, if you guys watched my Saturn and Aquarius video I talked a lot about Gemini risings finally leaving that 8th house area and finally going to the 9th house, which is probably the best thing that Geminis get for a long time, or at least the Gemini risings. And Jupiter and Saturn go into your 9th house. This is really marking a really significant beginning towards changing your beliefs, getting more grounded in what your beliefs are, your spirituality, your religion, higher education. Maybe for you, since you're 18, you're probably even starting college or whatever, and Jupiter and Saturn going to your 9th house is just really signifying that. So let's get to the next person. Tonium TV, or actually Tonium TV, you'll be next in a minute. We're gonna do Cathalophones. I don't know. I'm probably saying all of you guys' names wrong, but here, if you guys are wondering who this is, this person. Cathalophones. Fonzie. We're gonna say Cathalfonzie. I'm probably super fucking that up, but 5:15, the 15th hour of 13. 1513 Point dash Claire, Canada. There we go. All right, Cancer rising. All right. So for my little Cancer risings out there, it's almost over. You are done. The Cancer risings are finally done. So one of the biggest things is, well, let's talk about the eclipses. You've got the eclipses going on in your 6th house and your 12th house. With the eclipses going on in your 6th house, there's a big change in your health and your habits, your day-to-day routines. And with the South Node, there's maybe a lot of releasing or letting go. Like something with Cancer risings is they have this Jupiter ruling their 6th house. So it's like you can maybe try to do a lot or take on a lot of, things on your day-to-day routine, or have like a really big to-do list. the South Node going through your 6th house is like, maybe you don't have to do a ton of things all the time, and maybe, you know, you can be a little bit more simplistic. With the eclipses going on in your 12th and your 6th house, there is things that are maybe repressed, or maybe secrets that you've had since May and June that are going to be kind of coming out, that are going to be maybe revealing themselves. The 12th house, hidden things, repressed parts of yourself that have been a little bit more locked away are going to kind of come out a little bit more alive. And while everything's in the 12th house, while everything's in the 6th house, there is more of a bigger focus on, again, changing habits, changing day-to-day routines, changing, you know, how you kind of go about things in a really general sense. But you'll probably see it more related to health and employment, maybe a change in employment, maybe a change in your schedule, literally. But the good news is you have Jupiter and Saturn finally leaving your 7th house. Relationships, we're done. We're finally done with all of the crazy relationship stuff that you guys have had to go through. We're finally done with all of the crazy drama and all of the pressure and all of the changes. And maybe you can actually, now that your 7th house isn't piled up with a bunch of bullshit, actually have some more room for relationships. Jupiter, Saturn going into your 8th house, though, especially for you, Cathal Fonzie, this is going to be a big transition area for you, a big transition phase. When you have the Cancer risings going to Jupiter and Saturn going into your 8th, there are some bigger issues and challenges with shared resources. There's more access to shared resources, but it's also, they're more kind of challenging to deal with. There's more responsibilities, there's more obligations, so there's more, you know, what you kind of dealt with relationships, you're now going to be dealing with real people's stuff and sharing resources and money and debt. And so there's just a bigger sense of change, a bigger sense of literally getting your kind of shit together. But it's definitely not going to be nearly as hard as it was for you these past few years. What else is going on? That Venus and Scorpio in your 5th house in the beginning. For the Cancer risings, Venus and Scorpio in the 5th trining Neptune. That's hot. That's a lot of good stuff going on. So Venus in the 5th house in Scorpio, Venus ruling sex, 5th house ruling sex, Neptune in 9th house sounds very, very, very fun. And also, I mean, for you too, Venus is going to be trining your ascendant too during that time. That looks super, super fun for everybody. And that's what's going on with the Cancer risings. Next person up, we've got the main, I don't know their gender, so the main person, Toneam TV. Toneam TV. 313. Oh yeah, you're a Pisces, huh? I don't believe in Pisces. I don't think it exists. 1:50 a.m. in Fairfield, California. That Sag Rising gang. So this is also about me because I'm also Sag Rising. Especially you. I feel like me and you, we've been through so much shit together like this past year because you keep fucking coming on my monthly horoscope. So we already know the fucking how this shit's gonna go down. But for the Sag Risings in general, I mean, it's all these eclipses in the 1st house. There's a really big change, and I mean, you guys are probably going to see it for me too. Like, I'm going through a lot of big changes. Like, a lot of my worldview has even changed. A lot of my body has changed. A lot of the way that I kind of see, you know, even myself has changed, and that's just really the big thing with the Sag Risings. It's this, you know, stuff that has been gnawing away. And I'm sure for you, Toneam TV, you've had the South Node on your ascendant. So there's just been this huge drain, this huge release of, like, you know, remember when the South Node hit my ascendant, like right when the nodes went into Sag, it was like, God, I slept. I literally took a nap every day for 2 weeks, and I've never done that before. I'm not a napper, but I napped literally every single day. And so all these kind of exhausting things that have been going on, all these changes, there's just a big metamorphosis going on with the Sag Risings. And a lot of this stems from a relationship, or maybe even a personal friend or something. Oh, I got a donation. Sorry, I minimized it. Thank you. There's a certain individual that might be helping this, or might be insisting on this, or might be kind of assisting with this. This lunar eclipse in the seventh house, the way that you've looked at relationships is changing. The way that you're interacting with relationships is changing. Everything is leaving your second house of money, and you don't have to worry so much about your money and your finances and your possessions anymore. You got your money, you got your shit. Now everything's going to the third house. For you today, MTV, you're having your Jupiter return too. So this is your first house return. Like, you're going to be more on point. You're going to be communicating more. You're going to be doing more. Like, Saturn and Jupiter in your third house is very much like, it's kind of like, in my opinion, because I'm a content creator, I'm going to be creating a fuck ton of content during that time. The third house is like writing, speaking, teaching, siblings. This can be doing more with your siblings. So you're just going to see a lot more activity in itself. Mars is on your IC still. Mars is still squaring stuff, so you're still going to be dealing, more issues with creativity and trying to move things forward with creative stuff or romantic stuff. Yeah, and then we have that full moon in Cancer too. I keep forgetting to talk about that full moon in Cancer. That full moon in Cancer is really going to be highlighting what other people's shit that you need to take care of. You need to take care of other people's shit, and you need to take care of it now, essentially. But the Sag Risings, like what you said, it's we're going through we're draining shit out. It's that final I make hoarders analogies all the time, and it's that last dump. It's that last. It's that point of the Hoarders show where the person's like, okay, fuck it, I will throw away all of my things, and everyone's like, finally, holy fuck. So yeah. Anyway, hey, Hookerbot 3000. God, you guys have some fucking funny names. Speaking of Hookerbot 3000, you're next on the list, actually. Thanks for the donation, and that was not purposely. That was definitely ironically that you were next. So Hookerbot 3000. Thank you for having that name. Hookerbot 3000. Thank you for the follow. Hold on. January 8th. Yo, Hookerbot 3000. I don't have a time for you. Hurry up and put in a birth time. I need a birth time and I don't have one for you. Let me maybe scroll down a little bit. I don't see. Yeah. I don't see one. Post your birth time. Vancouver, 8:30 a.m. Got it. Whoops. Canada, 8:30 a.m. All right, Hookerbot 3000. The Cap Risings. Woo! Look at that. Oh, hold on. Let me minimize that real quick. Hold up. Look at that. That 22 Capricorn ascendant. You've been getting fucked this year. That's hard. That's hardcore. And you're also sunrise chart too. So Capricorn risings, you're done. You're finally done. It's over. You can finally take a breath of fresh air. You are now finally a Capricorn. I feel like with the Capricorn risings, all the Capricorns are like with the Capricorn risings, they've always wanted to be very serious. They've always wanted to be taken very literally or very seriously. And it's like, all right, well, you finally got what you asked for, and now you're finally done. Now you're the shit. Now you're very serious. Now you're the most mature, most adult, most wise person, most experienced person. For people like Hookerbot 3000, who are going to have all of these eclipses in their 12th house, the Capricorn risings, when you have the South Node, that South Node and the eclipses in the 12th house, you're having like a lot of fears, maybe even nightmares kind of come up. It's kind of like triggering almost in a sense when you have stuff in the 12th house, especially like the South Node. There's going to be like, you're going to feel drained and you don't know why. Things that you repressed are going to hold you back and kind of limit you. And it may be really hard to kind of pinpoint how to let go of those things. Eclipses in the 12th house, it's like, you invite someone over and they open one closet door and they find something that you've been looking for years, and you're like, holy fucking shit, how'd you find that? And they're like, it was right here. And then all of this stuff kind of changes for you. There's a lot of realizing what needs to be uncovered. The 12th house is also hidden enemies. So this could also reveal hidden enemies to you. This full moon is in your 6th house, or the lunar eclipse is in your 6th house. So there's this illumination of health, habits, routine, things that started in May and June of 2020, earlier this year. What has come to fruition? What has come to accumulation? what have you changed in your habits and your routine? What has changed in your health? What have you had to take on? For people like HookerBot 3000 who are going to have Jupiter and Saturn both conjoin and going to your second house, this is really signifying a really big new start with money, with finances, with possessions. This is really like you've had Jupiter and Saturn going through your first house. Like, okay, you know who you are, but now, like, what do you have? What do you own? What do you possess? How do you make your money? How do you manage your money? And for people like HookerBot 3000 who have Neptune, South Node, and the Moon and Uranus in your second house, probably need to get a little bit of that taken care of. So with Capricorn risings, it's kind of like the pressure comes off of you, but in the meantime, there's all of these realizations about yourself you didn't have before, and then all of a sudden there's a bigger focus on money. There's that full moon in Cancer in your 7th house that looks really, really nice and intimate, especially since you've had just so many rough lunations there. This one looks actually like a nice, this would be a nice date, or if you're in a relationship, this would, or maybe even a nice date if you're in a relationship. Mars is still in your 4th house, so there's still some, construction and issues kind of going on with living situation stuff, but it's you're almost done. Venus being in your 11th house in Scorpio, that's going to be good for making connections with friends, socializing, but I don't even feel like that's going to be important because it's those eclipses in the 12th house and all that 12th house stuff. You're going to feel more isolated, you're going to feel more alienated, but things are just going to come alive more and you're going to go, whoa, like I need to take care of that. So that's what's going on. HookerBot 3000, thank you for participating. Brim Britain, you're next, because you're next on the list. So, and also, yeah, you gave me, Brim Britain, I don't got a time for you. I don't got a location for you. Man, y'all always forget one thing. Brim Britain, what is your location of birth? Where were you born? August 17th. Akron, Ohio. Okay. August 17th. Oh, shit. What year? 1997. August 17th, 1997. 11:57 a.m. in Akron, Ohio. No, thank you, HookerBot 3000. I'm just like, don't even think of you as a human. I'm only thinking HookerBot as like literally like a robot hooker. And just sounds so cool. Wow, I like your chart. So now let's pull this up. Oh, I thought you were a tour. Wait, this is 11:57. Hold on, I did something wrong. Oh, that's right. I was like, we already did Libra Rising. Hold up, let me change this. I fucked up. I'm sorry, guys. Select, edit. I'm so sorry. I fucked up. PM. Aha, Taurus Rising. So Taurus Risings. What's some of the things that Taurus Risings are going to go through? So let's start off with those eclipses. Eclipses in the 8th house and 2nd house. This is hard. This is hardcore. Eclipses in the 8th house are not fun. And this is something that started since May and June of last year. You've had the North Node in your 2nd, South Node in your 8th house. The North Node's in your 2nd. You want to make more money. You want to have more money. You want to have more things. You want to possess more things, literally. But the South Node in your 8th house is like, you have some debt you need to clear up. There's some other obligations that you need to handle. You're also taking care of other people's shit. So you have some other, literally like other obligations to deal with. South Node through the 8th house too. When you have eclipses going through the 8th house, this is something that I bring up a lot too, especially with my client work, is like the 8th house rules death. And when you have things like eclipses and you have things like all over, all of these, transits, this isn't like you are going to die or anything, but that theme of death can be really around you. You can't even know someone who dies or experience some type of death with someone, which is definitely a thing. But regardless of that, the theme of death or the theme of changing or the theme of like transition will be very apparent. And with the stuff in the South Node, it's very things that need to be let go of. There's this again, this is kind of like the prerequisite. If you want to make more money, if you want to have more things, you have to kind of find, I feel like the South Node in the 8th house in Sagittarius is like having some type of goal or taking care of stuff that's been kind of on the back burner for a while. What else is going on? Jupiter and Saturn are leaving your 9th and going into your 10th, and you're going into your Jupiter return. So career stuff is looking good for Taurus risings who have, for Aries risings who have Aquarius midheaven, for Taurus risings who have Aquarius midheaven, and for Gemini risings who have Aquarius midheaven. This is the time to start a business. If you're looking to be an entrepreneur, Jupiter on the midheaven. If you're a day chart, I should also say. For Brim Britton here, maybe in February when both Venus and Jupiter are in your midheaven and in your 10th house, that's going to be a really good time to start a business. That's a good time to just amplify your career, amplify your public image. Jupiter and Saturn going to your 10th house, more responsibilities in the workplace, more seriousness, maybe getting more responsibility, like becoming a manager, becoming a supervisor, gaining more authority in this area too. And there's a lot more opportunities in the 10th house. There's a lot more work for you to do. Venus is going to be in your 7th house, making that trine to Neptune. So that Venus-Neptune trine that we have, that's going to be really hot in your 7th house. That's going to be good for going on a date. That's going to be good for, you know, that type of stuff if that's what you're into. But Venus going into your 8th house, you're also ruled by the planet Venus. So when you have Venus going into your 8th house, this is a time of transition for you. Venus is going to go on the south node in your 8th. So this could be almost like a part of you dying, or a part of you shedding your skin. A part of you really kind of, I would say, I would look at it as a shedding of a skin almost. What are the other things going on? We have that full moon in Cancer in your 3rd and your 9th. You know, not everything has to be so philosophically serious or religiously serious. Mars is on your Saturn, and Mars is in your 12th house. Mars, it's still easy to repressed anger or frustrations. Still dealing with hidden enemies. That's just shit you're going to be dealing with. Who's next? Kate Killett. Kate, what's your fucking rising sign? And where were you born? You were born in Vancouver, right? Let's see if I can remember Kate Killett's chart. Kate Killett. That's such a fun name. You're so lucky that you have a fun name that you were born with. Jan 28th. Whoops. Kate, where were you born? What's your rising sign? Jan 28th. 1991. Virgo rising. Do we do Virgo risings? 9 p.m. And what did you say? Hold on, let me scroll down. There's so many comments. Virgo rising, January 28th, Toronto. The 6th. That's right, the 6th. Toronto, Canada. I don't remember doing Virgo rising, so yeah, we're gonna do Virgo rising. So hold on, let me make sure I also scroll up to here. Man, there's a lot of comments. Thank you guys for joining me today, by the way. So Virgo risings. Let's see. Where shall we begin with the Virgo risings? You know whose Virgo rising chart I was just looking at? That I was like I was looking at Gavin Newsom's. He's a Virgo rising, and Gavin Newsom, I mean, I don't really agree with a lot of what he's done. It's kind of shitty, but damn, does the media not fucking like Gavin Newsom? They just trash the shit out of him. But I was laughing because his Virgo risings. Eclipses in the 4th house. Eclipses in Sagittarius. Your living situation is changing. Your house situation is changing. If not, you're going to have problems with it. Like South Node in this 4th house, Virgo risings, you're going to have a pipe break. You're going to have a flood. You're going to have something inconvenient break or bust. That's just what happens. There's no way of avoiding it. You just have to go through it. So you're going to be dealing with stuff that's just really annoying and frustrating, that's going to take your attention and take your time away to focus on your family and your living situation and your home life. But in the meantime, these eclipses in your 10th house also bring up a lot of career opportunities, a lot of like, hey, what am I doing? What am I excited about? What am I creating? And this is all started, of course, in May and June. Lots of realizations with career stuff. Virgo risings. Wow, Kate, Jesus Christ, you have Saturn on the North Node? Holy fuck. And that moon on the South Node. Oh my God, you have a moon at 22 Cancer. I have a moon at 22 Libra, but you probably know that. That's so funny. Anyway, the Virgo risings get to actually enjoy things again, which I know that sounds a little wild, but the Virgo risings who have had Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto all in their 5th house, it's been so hard to enjoy things. It's like nothing is exactly what you want. And it's really hard to get what you want. It's like you want the paper. It's like being a kid and wanting to write your essays and gel pens with like the pink sparkle pen or the green sparkle pen, but you have to write in black ink. But that's for your love life and your creative life. Now that Saturn and Jupiter are moving out of your 5th house, now you can have a little bit more fun. Now it's like, you know, maybe you still have to write with a black pen, but you can do it with, you know, bigger or thicker lines to where you can be a little bit more creative with it. There is a lot less focus on love and romance and a bigger focus on employment, a bigger focus on health, a bigger focus on your routine, your day-to-day endeavors. What that translates to is basically there's more responsibility in the workplace, there's more responsibility with your employment or with other people. Jupiter in your 6th house, you're going to be more busy, you're going to be more active, whether that you kind of like that or not. Venus going from your 4th house to your 3rd from your 4th. Well, that's kind of another story. That's kind of like really specific. What else is going on? Oh, the full moon in Cancer. I mean, specifically for you, Kate, too. That full moon in Cancer in that 11th house you're done with your Saturn return. You're done with your Saturn return. You're done with Saturn and Jupiter being there. This full moon in Cancer is going to be a really time to maybe even like enjoy company with friends, enjoy a community, enjoy other people, or maybe other people taking care of you, really looking out for you. Also too, I mean, you also have the moon on the south node, so this is just, it's going to just be it's kind of like a nice hug after a pandemic, is what that full moon in Cancer is going to feel like. But you also have like Neptune on your descendant, so that Venus trining Neptune thing will be really fun for like relationships and stuff like that. And it's also trining your Pluto too, so that sounds pretty intense. I didn't even bring up Kate's thing up here, but all right, next person. You guys keep putting your you guys need to put your rising sign so I know exactly who I'm dealing with here. It's me, Rachel. Rachel, I have your chart. Where's your chart? I have your chart because I know you. Rachel McCullough? Yeah. Right? Is this Rachel, is that you? That looks like you from your Avi, but I also may not know. I'm going to assume that this is Rachel McCullough. Blink twice if this is Rachel McCullough. But anyway, hold on, let me scroll back up to where I was at so I don't lose my place with you guys. So, hold on. Give me a second to scroll. There we go. Okay. So, actually, there we go. Yeah, Rachel. There we go. It is you. So, what's up, Rachel? Pisces risings. Pisces risings. Oh, my Pisces risings. A few things. A lot of things. Eclipses in your 10th house. So, well, for you, Rachel, I mean, all of that stuff's going literally on your midheaven, too, which a lot of these Pisces risings will be dealing with. So these eclipses on your 10th house, transitions, letting go. So not everyone's going to be changing their career, right? Like, not every Pisces rising is going to have a major career change. One part of the Pisces risings are going to be changing their career or changing the way that the public sees them. The other part of it might be just dramatic things that make you feel more drained or make you feel more exhausted from the workplace, or maybe your boss is going through bad things. Because again, the natal chart isn't always about you. Like, the natal chart also rules other people in your life. So like the south node and these eclipses going through Sagittarius can really reflect your boss, and maybe your boss being more frustrating or dealing with more issues than normal. But there's a lot of attention and a lot of release or a lot of change with your public reputation or your image, or how you kind of do things out in the world, your career, your legacy, what you're wanting to create, what you're wanting to be known for. A lot of that direction is changing. Saturn and Jupiter are leaving your 11th house, and maybe you'll actually have more friends during this time. All the Pisces rising has been maybe more lonely. As Saturn and Jupiter, though, go to your 12th house, if you have friends and if you are social, it's very tight niche. It's very close quarters. Saturn and Jupiter going to your 12th house is you might feel more isolated. You might feel more privatized. Like Saturn and Jupiter going to your 12th, there's going to be a lot more things that you're dealing with by yourself. Rachel specifically is going through her Jupiter return with Jupiter in the 12th house, so you're going to be dealing with more things alone, but it sounds nice. It sounds enjoyable. Like you can really process some things. And with Jupiter and Saturn leaving your 11th, this is like, it's not like you're going to be having like a huge giant friend group and you're partying with everyone all the time, but your friends it'll be easier to have access to friendships and to community. But you'll be choosing to probably be more alone, or choosing to be just doing more things by yourself than you would be choosing to hang out with people. And that's for all Pisces risings. You get that full moon in your 5th house. That's going to be a great time for romance, for interest. Now that Saturn and Jupiter is out of there, you can actually enjoy some art, music, creativity, some sex, some just fun. Venus is going to be trining Neptune. Venus will be literally on your Saturn, trining Neptune on your ascendant. That's going to be really fun for those Pisces risings, because there's this spiritual, like, I want to say like almost like awakening with like Venus and Scorpio, like, you know, really getting connected or really grounded with your spirituality, with what you believe. But then when Venus goes into your 10th house, that's when you're really going to be kind of like, again, reevaluating things with your career, reevaluating your direction, reevaluating what you're exploring with your career, with your public reputation. So what have we done? We've done Taurus rising, Gemini rising, Cancer rising, Virgo rising. We've done Libra rising. We've done Capricorn rising. We've done Aquarius rising, and then Pisces rising. So I need Aries rising. I need Scorpio rising, Leo rising, Aries, Leo, Scorpio, and Aries, Leo, Scorpio, 8, 9, 10, 11. Aries, Leo, Scorpio, and Virgo. No. Aries, Leo, Scorpio. I think that's it. So let's see. June 27th. Let me just scroll down just to make sure. Aquarius rising, Taurus rising, Thousand Oaks, California. Leo rising. Okay, Donna Storas. You're the first Leo rising I saw in here, because you actually put it. Thank you for listening, because I don't want to pull up the chart. It's another rising. So if you guys want to join next time too, and just make sure you put your rising or your rising sign so I know what to do. Tortas. Donas Tortas. Thousand Oaks, California. Fucking Valley. 26th. 2001. Jesus, so young. Oh, time, Thousand Oaks. God, I'm dumb. 10:49 a.m. Man, I'm tired. Thousand Oaks. Oh, wait, what the fuck? Thousand Oaks. Oh, whoops. Leo rising. Ooh, look at that Mars-Mercury opposition. Damn. This will be a really good couple months for yous. Leo risings. You got a lot going on. You got a lot specifically going on for you, Donna's Tortas. So first things first, I'm the realist, but second thing, eclipses in your 5th house. So there's a lot of love, romance, creativity, like enjoyment, part of like who you are, even vices. A lot of that's draining, and that you're trying to change that. Like you're also a day chart with Mars in the 5th house, so maybe you're very active, you're very fun, and the South Node going over that area is like, you know, maybe you're not having as much fun. Maybe you're feeling really drained by this stuff. Maybe you're feeling like there needs to be a change in what you actually enjoy and what you're actually wanting to do, and that's what a lot of Leo risings are kind of going through. So with these eclipses, there's a realization of what needs to change with what you actually love, what you enjoy. The 5th house is love and romance, so maybe your love and romance partners or your interests change. 5th house is creativity, so maybe you kind of take a creative turn or change your creative direction. The 5th house is also vices. This is a great time too for a lot of Leo risings to deal more with sobriety, or maybe letting go of certain vices or certain, you know, like certain like things that are like really fun that maybe you shouldn't always do all the time. With the eclipses having here, this is attention grabbing though. This is very like random, very last minute things kind of just, you know, coming into place, kind of hitting you. And then we have that lunar eclipse in Gemini. This is showing the relationship between your love interests and like your hobbies and your recreational activities and friendships. And do you do things with, and like, do the people that you do things with influence what you do? Or are you doing the things that you want to do with the people that you want to do it with? we have that full moon in Cancer, where now that Jupiter and Saturn are out of your 6th house, and you can just actually work and not feel like it's super, super heavy in weight, this full moon in Cancer is going to ask yourself, well, what do you need? Now, Saturn and Jupiter's been through your 6th house. It's like, you're working a really important event. You're working a really important thing. And now that event's done, now that all that work is subsided, now, how do you need to take care of yourself? What's the first thing that needs to get done? And this full moon in Cancer in your 12th house is very like, bringing a lot of things up of like, what is going to take care of my needs? Like, how can I actually address what I need to do? This full moon in Cancer in the 12th would be a great time to just hide away, go away, just like literally run away and do something replenishing that's by yourself too. This is the 12th house, and you've got a moon in Cancer in the 12th house. Like, I don't need to tell you to go. Like, this would be a good time to go to the woods and just check out and just take care of yourself for a minute. Really relax. Mars is in your 9th house still, so there's still some issues with spirituality, religion, and Mars is on your Venus too, so maybe there's a lot of conflict too with your living or with your career and your work. But the big thing is Jupiter and Saturn leave the Leo's 6th house, so we get it. You've got your employment on track. You've got your work on track. You're taking on a lot of responsibility there. Now that Saturn and Jupiter is going to, hey, thanks for that fucking donation. Shout out. Now that Jupiter and Venus go into, or Jupiter and Saturn go into your 7th house, now the responsibility, now the seriousness comes to relationships. And this isn't just romantic relationships. This is all individual relationships you have, period. So this is going to also be romantic relationships and how you involve yourself, but all individual relationships. What are you committed to? Thank you for the sub. What are you committed to? How do you operate in relationships? What do you take seriously there? Because also Jupiter rules your 5th house, and Jupiter's conjoining your 5th house ruler is conjoining your 7th house ruler. So there's this like, are you doing what it takes to get what you want? Like, are you meeting with people in the way, and are you connecting with people in the way that's going to get what you want, that gets your desires fulfilled? So, it's a little weird. It's a big change. It's also, you're a Leo rising, right? You're ruled by the sun, and Jupiter and Saturn are going to go into your 7th house where they're like going opposite that. There's going to be a lot of witnessing this year. And for you specifically, Donna Stortus, you're going to have everything in Aquarius start to trine everything in Gemini for you. So there's a lot of you coming out. There's a lot of you coming alive. There's a lot of you kind of turning on almost in a sense. Where Jupiter and Saturn have been in your 6th house, have been kind of repressed. Everything's kind of been more private. Things become more public. Let's see. Who's next? We did everything except Aries and Scorpio. No Martians here. Let's look here. There we go. Veronica, we got you. You're up here. Veronica M. A lot of Libra risings in this round. You guys don't usually talk as much. Let's see. I'm just gonna not do the 3 because that's a little lot. So Veronica _M, you were born May 10th. A lot of Tauruses too, I'm noticing. I attract a lot of Tauruses. Like almost literally every girl I think I've ever actually been in a serious relationship with has been a Taurus. Like every girlfriend of mine. I have a thing for Tauruses, I'm sorry. 4:20 a.m. Fucking sick, dude. What a great time to be born. Chicago. I'm just gonna put IL. All right, Aries risings. Woo, look at that. Yeah. All right, so Aries risings. As you know, Mars is retrograde, or Mars is now going direct in your 1st house. So a lot of like Mars retrograde or Aries risings people have been very like moving backwards. Mars or Aries rising people feel like they can't do anything. It's funny, I have a friend of mine who, she's an Aries rising and she's been pregnant during this whole time, and she's a very ambitious person, so it's like not being able to do as much, literally having to like slow down and not work as much. These Aries rising people, Mars is now direct. Things are moving forward now a little bit more for you guys. There's more energy, there's more action going on. That's moving forward. We have the eclipses in Sagittarius in your 9th house. When we're talking about your spirituality, your religion, your beliefs, there's a lot of that that's literally metamorphosing. There's a lot of that that's changing. There's a lot of that you're letting go of. There's a lot of that you're releasing. A lot of your beliefs, a lot of the way that you've seen things. And the thing is, again, this is the total lunar eclipse in Gemini in your 3rd house. So there's this letting go of what you think is out there, or maybe letting go of what your beliefs are, more of a focus on like what you have in front of you, more of a focus on like what you understand that's in front of you. Jupiter and Saturn are leaving your 10th house, so there's less responsibility and less obligation and less giant workload in your career. And those bigger responsibilities, those bigger obligations, and also more of the opportunity, more of the fun, more of the expansion now goes to your 11th house, and you start dealing more with friendships. You start dealing more with acquaintances, colleagues. There's more opportunity here, but there's also more responsibility. There's more, discipline. There's more maturity that you have to face here. So that's going to be a big theme that you see too. We have that full moon in Cancer in your 4th house. This is really going to, like, now that all that pressure is off of your work and your career, now you can really maybe take a weekend off and enjoy a nice, comfortable thing in your home for those Aries risings, that nice Cancer 4th house thing. Yeah, maybe go swimming too. That would be a good thing. Like, it's so funny. I always think of my dad. My dad was an Aries rising, and he was born on a full moon in Cancer with a Mars in Cancer too. And he was very just always. He tried to be around water as much as he can, mostly like a home pool. That was like his thing. So then we got Scorpio risings. Let's see if we can find a Scorpio rising, and that's kind of last, right? Thank you guys for the donations again. Hold on. There's a lot of Tauruses. Wow. Scorpio risings. Is there anyone out there? There's a lot of Cancer Taurus risings. Wow. Like literally all of you guys are Cancer Taurus Capricorn. Who is a Scorpio rising? Is there no Scorpio risings on here? That Astro Boy. There we go. My bad. There we go. You're here now. The stupid fucking eyes, lips emoji. Okay. New chart. Okay. All right. Where is Scorpio rising? October 23rd, 1998. 8:05 a.m. 8:05 a.m. Glendora, California. All right. Scorpio risings. Oh yeah, and you're on that cusp too. Let's see. Let's do this. All right. Oh man, you've got that sun opposite Saturn too. Woo. All right. And that Nordon. Oh, this chart's crazy. Okay. So Scorpio risings in general. The first thing I want to talk about is that Venus transit going through your first house. Venus is going to be in Scorpio for a good part of the month, so that's going to make you feel better. You probably feel more attractive, more people are going to like you, or you're just going to be more like, just take a lot of selfies because that's when you'll probably be looking the best. For you though, you've got Jupiter in Pisces and Neptune's on top of your 5th house ruler, and Venus will be on your ascendant trining that, so that's really good for sex stuff. That's really good for love, romance. That's really good for like if you're trying to attract a partner or just like look really good, that's a good time for it. What else is going on? Eclipses in your 2nd house. The North Node's going through your 8th house, and the South Node's going through your 2nd house. So, with the South Node going through your 2nd house, there's this, like, getting rid of shit. Like, I just had the South Node go through my 2nd house, and I literally got all new things and threw everything away, like, 3 different times. Like, I acquired so many things and then immediately had to get rid of it all again. So the South Node going through the 2nd house, you can just deal more with, like, the process of obtaining possessions and letting go of those possessions, releasing those possessions, getting rid of those things. The South Node in the 2nd house, money issues, possession issues, they're very draining, they're very fleeting. You feel like you have to, they're always an obligation, right? Like you have to have money in order to North Node in the 8th house, get a better credit score, share resources with other people. That North Node in the 8th house, just like I talked about with the Taurus risings, you're having eclipses in your 8th house of death. And so you're going to see the North Node in your 8th house, you're going to be getting closer and closer towards the 8th house. So the 8th house rules secrets, it rules the occult, it rules transformation, it rules these changes. And as you're pulling yourself closer and closer to that area, you're going to see some scary things, and you're going to see a lot of things kind of change over. The North Node, that lunar eclipse that's going on in your 8th house too, it's kind of like you're going to see kind of events that kind of dramatically unfold that make you focus more on your shared resources, that make you focus more on other people's possessions and property and less so on your stuff. And this is maybe even getting rid of more of your things and more focusing on someone else's stuff more so. Focused on death. Yo, Wishlist, what's up? You followed. So that's going to be a big deal. The next thing after that, I mean, you've got Venus going into Sagittarius in your second house too. So this is, maybe having to buy things, maybe even making significant purchases that maybe you don't want to make, but you have to make. Like Venus going through the second house is like you're spending money on nice things, and it may not always be what you wanted to spend it on. But Jupiter and Saturn are now leaving your third house. There's less, I was just talking to Drew. I can never pronounce Drew's last name. Drew Levenity, astrologer in Chicago. You guys should follow him if you don't. He's a really good astrologer, but we were talking about how he's a Scorpio rising. He's got Jupiter and Saturn in his third, and how like communication for him has felt very like he's more free to say things now and more free to express things. Thank you for the sub. With Jupiter and Saturn leaving your third, these Scorpio risings, maybe you feel like more freedom to communicate, to express things, to say things. There's less pressure to feel like everything you say has to be very serious and taken that way. As Jupiter and Saturn go to your fourth house, though, there's more of a focus, and specifically for you, that Astro Boy, because Jupiter and Saturn are going to square your Sun and square your Saturn. This is where, you start your Saturn square, like a big thing now comes down to like, where do you live? How do you live? What's going on with your family? What's going on with your home life? Saturn is going to bring a lot more responsibilities here. Saturn's going to bring a lot of obligations here. Saturn's going to bring a lot more barriers here. But Jupiter here is also bringing a lot more opportunities. Jupiter is also bringing a lot more abundance here. Jupiter is bringing you something good here. That's Jupiter, right? Mars is still in your sixth house, so you're still changing your habits, still, trying to get into a routine, trying to maintain your health. And then you have that full moon in Cancer in your ninth house where you kind of get a spiritual bath. Now that Jupiter and Saturn are out of your third, it's like now you can really enjoy, Jupiter and Saturn in your third is like after you do 500 squats, you know what I mean, and you go through the boot camp, you can kind of enjoy things a little bit easier. After you go through that, or if you guys have played sports, there's always like Hell Week, the first 2 weeks of just like training or whatever that are always really intense, and then afterwards things get a little bit easier. Jupiter and Saturn going through your third is like everything is Hell Week, and that full moon in Cancer, now that Jupiter and Saturn is gone, it's kind of like, hey, like now that you went through all that hard work, what have you learned? And like, how do your needs feel met? Do your needs feel, realized now that you've gone through all that hard work? I hope that makes sense. And correct me if I'm wrong, all 34 of you that are still here somehow. I think that I just went through all the signs. That was because I did Aries, we did Taurus, we did Gemini, we did Cancer, we did Leo, we did Virgo, we did Libra was the first one, or maybe it was Aquarius was the first one. Libra was the first one, I think. We just did Scorpio, we did Sag, we did Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. That's it. So, yeah, that's basically it, I guess. I don't think there's anything else I really want to go over with the month. We're a little bit under 2 hours here. Not bad. Getting a little bit quicker at this. I think next month, though, when we talk about January, there's a lot to talk about with January. But also, hopefully, my 2021 year ahead. I still haven't recorded them yet. I'm still writing out, like, all of my... I'm getting really... No one is going to have as detailed of 2021 horoscopes as I do for you guys. Like, you guys are going to know exactly what happens about everything in 2021. So... thank me later. But also, thank you guys for everyone that was here. If you guys want to donate again, I super appreciate it. It really helps me out. The donation button is on my page. But thank you guys for being here. I really enjoyed everything. If you're watching this on YouTube after this is already done live, again, follow my Twitch. I go live, and as you can see, there's people in the comments that participate, and I read their charts to kind of give horoscopes for all of the rising signs. So thank you for the lighting comment. So this is my first time setting up on my streaming setup with this lighting, and it's definitely here to stay for a minute. I also might be moving and getting a new office. Like, I might actually be renting an office and having a more creative studio to do this stuff out, but that's still maybe. But yeah, thank you for complimenting the lighting. I like it really. I like it too now. What else? I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for being here again. If you want to donate, that'd be great. 2021 horoscopes. That's what I want to say. Recording those after this. Should be getting those out. Those are going to be super, super detailed. So just be on the lookout for the 2021 horoscopes. And I'm also going to be putting out the 2021 year ahead readings too here soon too. So if you want to just know what is going down for you personally for 2021, how it's going to affect you, reach out to me. Well, they should. Well, I gotta put it on my website. Mars is still going really slow. I'm trying to catch up on everything that I'm trying to do. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. And I'll be seeing you next year.